Have you ever paused for a moment and truly wondered what goes through the mind of a woman who has lived, experienced, and embraced different chapters of life, especially when it comes to her intimate world? Many people assume that maturity leads to restraint, that women somehow become more reserved, more hesitant, or even detached from passion as they grow older. But what if I told you that the truth is almost the complete opposite? Far from fading, their passion, freedom, and self-assurance often intensify with age, and that transformation is one of the most powerful and fascinating aspects of human intimacy. In this video, I want to take you on a journey through 23 remarkable psychological insights about mature women, truths that can completely reshape the way you see, connect with, and appreciate them. If you've ever felt like there was a missing piece when trying to truly understand the depth of a woman who's walked through multiple seasons of life, then stay with me. I can promise that you'll find perspectives here you may never have expected. Before diving in, let me share something personal. For as long as I can remember, I've been passionate about studying and improving intimate relationships. It's almost second nature to me. Whenever I'm with friends and the topic comes up, my curiosity sparks instantly. I listen carefully, ask questions, and later spend hours digging deeper through research, stories, and psychology. Every time I discover something that surprises me, I've come to realize that mature women often hold unique truths and powerful insights about intimacy. Truths that they only reveal to those who are genuinely willing to listen and connect with them on a deeper, more authentic level. Just the other day, during a relaxed coffee chat, a close friend shared a candid revelation about how her intimate life had evolved after she turned 50. The honesty in her voice and the glow in her expression left me reflecting for hours afterward. What she told me might just be the key for many of you to not only understand, but to also transform your own intimate experiences. But before we move forward, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Karen, and if you're new here, I warmly invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell. On this channel, we uncover the truths that few people talk about. And trust me, you'll want to be here for every discussion. So let's begin this journey together. Fact 1. Mature women's desire burns brighter than you think. Many people carry the misconception that with age, a woman's desire gradually fades into the background. But in reality, for countless women, the opposite is true. Desire doesn't vanish. It evolves, deepens, and often grows more intense. It's as though, with time, they free themselves from the weight of taboos, judgments, and expectations that once held them back. The hesitation that may have existed in their 20s or 30s is replaced by a liberating sense of self-assurance. Instead of wondering what others might think or struggling to fit into someone else's mold, they embrace their desires with authenticity and pride. Think of it this way. A mature woman has had years to learn the language of her body. She knows the rhythms, the signals, the subtle cues that tell her what she enjoys. And when she communicates that openly, she does so with a confidence that can be incredibly energizing for her and her partner alike. One friend once told me, laughing, that in her 50s, she finally stopped worrying about whether she was doing things right. Instead, she shifted her focus entirely to enjoyment, real, unapologetic enjoyment. That shift, she said, made all the difference. The flame that maturity brings is not one of hesitation, but of clarity, strength, and genuine connection. Fact 2, they carry fantasies that surprise even themselves. Now here's where things get even more intriguing. Not only does desire intensify with age, but fantasies also take on new dimensions, becoming richer, more layered, and more daring. And perhaps the most striking part? Many women at this stage of life no longer keep those fantasies locked away in secret. Instead, they feel the freedom to bring them into the open, ready to explore them with someone they trust. For years, society has underestimated women's imagination, as though creativity and desire diminish after a certain age. but the truth is exactly the opposite. The more secure, self-assured, and comfortable a woman feels within her own skin, the freer she becomes to share those hidden corners of her mind. A friend of mine once told me about a desire she had held quietly for decades, afraid to speak it aloud when she was younger out of fear of judgment, yet in her 50s, with the wisdom of experience and the courage that comes with time, she finally shared it. And what followed was one of the most memorable, liberating nights of her life. Here's the lesson. If you create a space that feels safe and free from judgment, you may be astonished at what you discover. Behind calm eyes and steady words may lie a world of imagination and longing, just waiting for someone worthy enough to explore it with her. And importantly, this isn't just about fulfilling fantasies, it's about trust, vulnerability, and the connection that comes when two people share something deeply personal and unspoken. Fact 3. Intimacy after 50 often surpasses anything before. It might seem surprising to some, but intimacy beyond the age of 50 can, in many cases, be more fulfilling and exciting than it was in earlier decades. Why? The answer lies in experience. Over the years, women gain a deeper understanding of what they truly enjoy, what brings them pleasure, and how to ask for it without hesitation. Insecurity gives way to clarity, and the fear of being judged is replaced by an eagerness to embrace life's most authentic moments. Imagine being with someone who knows exactly what lights them up, who not only understands their own rhythms, but is willing to guide you toward them with warmth and confidence. For many mature women, that's exactly what intimacy becomes. I remember one woman describing her experience after turning 50 as a complete rediscovery of herself. "It's like my body was reborn," she said with a smile. For her, the years hadn't dimmed anything. They had sharpened her awareness, creating a new chapter filled with passion, curiosity, and joy. Research supports these experiences. Studies consistently show that many women report greater satisfaction in their intimate lives later in life than they did in their youth. And that satisfaction isn't just about physical technique. It's about emotional maturity, the ability to surrender to the moment without barriers or distractions, and the joy of truly embracing oneself and one's partner. Fact 4. Clear, confident communication changes everything. Another remarkable shift that happens with age is the way mature women express themselves. Gone are the days of guesswork, indirect hints, or pretending to feel something just to protect a partner's ego. By this stage in life, many women choose honesty over pretense. They'll tell you when something feels good, and they'll just as easily let you know when it doesn't. That directness can transform intimacy from a space of uncertainty into one of authenticity. One friend once told me that in her younger years, she sometimes faked enjoyment simply to avoid conflict. But today, she feels no need to do so. "If I want something," she said, "I ask for it because my pleasure matters just as much as his." That kind of clarity removes the unnecessary guessing game and replaces it with a straightforward shared pursuit of joy. Listening attentively to her words and responding to her guidance is like being handed a map. You're no longer wandering blindly, but journeying together toward a destination you'll both enjoy far more. Fact 5. Slower, deeper, and more connected. With maturity often comes a shift in how intimacy is approached. It's not always about speed or intensity. Instead, it's about savoring. Many mature women come to value depth over frequency, presence over performance. They prefer moments that unfold gradually, where every touch and every glance carries meaning. Quick encounters may have their place, but the kind of intimacy that truly resonates is slower, more mindful, and deeply rooted in emotional connection. Research backs this up as well. Studies in the field of sexuality and relationships reveal that women over 40 and beyond increasingly prioritize quality over quantity. For them, true satisfaction comes not from rushing, but from sinking into the moment, allowing body and mind to align. This slower pace transforms intimacy into something far more profound, a meeting of souls as well as bodies, where the richness of the experience lies in presence, trust, and shared discovery. Fact 6. The climaxes of maturity carry unexpected intensity. There's a fascinating truth that often catches people off guard. Many women experience far more powerful and prolonged climaxes in maturity than they ever did in youth. It's not simply a matter of biology, but also of perspective, emotional growth, and freedom from insecurities. Over time, women learn to tune into their bodies with a sharper awareness, and this knowledge allows them to reach levels of satisfaction that were perhaps unattainable before. When worries about appearance, performance, or judgment fade into the background, the ability to focus entirely on sensation, presence, and connection becomes much stronger. Studies published in respected journals of sexual health reveal that many women over 50 consistently describe their orgasms as not only more intense, but also longer lasting, almost as though the ability to surrender and embrace pleasure expands with time. With maturity comes the gift of letting go of unnecessary anxieties, and that freedom opens the door to experiences that feel both liberating and deeply fulfilling. One of my favorite examples came from a friend who explained how her body felt newly awakened after crossing into her 50s. She laughed as she described it, but there was truth in her words. She told me that while younger, she had often been distracted by thoughts of whether she looked attractive enough, whether her partner was satisfied, or whether she was performing well. That mental chatter, she said, kept her from fully surrendering. But as she grew older, her mindset shifted. She no longer carried those worries into the moment. Instead, she focused purely on what she felt, and as a result, her climaxes deepened, becoming far more rewarding than before. That, in essence, is the hidden power of maturity. It allows a woman to prioritize the authenticity of her own experience, which in turn benefits both partners. Fact 7. They embrace the joy of taking the lead. Another dimension of intimacy that evolves dramatically with age is the willingness of women to step into control. In their youth, many women might have felt pressure to be more passive, to prioritize pleasing their partner, or to hide their own desires. Yet maturity transforms that balance. With confidence firmly rooted, many women relish the opportunity to guide, to lead, and to show their partner what they truly want. This doesn't necessarily mean dominance in the dramatic sense. It often shows up in subtle but powerful ways. The guiding of a hand, the suggestion of a new rhythm, or the decisive act of setting the pace. These moments are filled with assurance, and they can be incredibly exciting for both partners. For men, this dynamic may initially feel surprising, especially if they are accustomed to leading. But embracing this shift creates a space where intimacy becomes more playful, more balanced, and more exploratory. The act of surrendering control from time to time allows for new forms of connection to emerge. It's not about losing one's role. It's about expanding the possibilities of how two people interact. As the famous saying goes, what we resist persists, but what we embrace transforms us. Allowing a mature woman to step forward and direct the experience can open doors to unexpected layers of pleasure, creativity, and trust. Fact 8. They see intimacy as a playground, not a performance. If there is one lesson that mature women embody fully, it's that intimacy should never be confined to seriousness or routine. They understand, perhaps more than anyone, that laughter, curiosity, and experimentation are essential to keeping connection alive. It is here that openness to playful tools, such as toys or creative experiences, finds its natural place. Far from being embarrassed, many women over 40 and 50 are not only open to the idea, but actively interested in exploring these possibilities. Studies in Australia and beyond show that more than half of women in this age range are curious about experimenting with intimate accessories, not out of need, but out of a desire for variety and fun. What's most inspiring is that they approach these conversations without shame. They don't see exploration as a threat, but rather as an opportunity. And when a mature woman brings this idea to the table, it's rarely about replacing her partner. It's about inviting him into a shared journey of discovery. A candlelit night, a new sensation, or a playful experiment can transform routine encounters into experiences that feel alive and adventurous. This is one of the great gifts of maturity, the courage to step outside comfort zones without fear of judgment, and the wisdom to know that pleasure has many forms, all of which can strengthen a bond. Fact 9. Scents hold a hidden power in awakening desire. One of the most overlooked aspects of attraction and intimacy lies in the sense of smell. For mature women, scents can hold astonishing power. A particular fragrance, the natural scent of skin after a shower, or the subtle note of a favorite perfume, can awaken emotions and memories that instantly transform the atmosphere. Unlike visual or physical cues, which are often consciously registered, scents work in the background, weaving into the subconscious and stirring desire in profound ways. For many mature women, these invisible triggers carry a primal intimacy, connecting not just with the senses but with memory, nostalgia, and the deepest corners of emotion. I have personally witnessed the shift that happens when the right scent is present. A partner wears a familiar fragrance, and suddenly the mood changes. She smiles differently, leans closer, or lingers in a touch just a moment longer. It isn't coincidence. It's the way scent anchors memory, weaving together past and present, and opening the door to desire without a single word spoken. For anyone seeking to connect with a mature woman on a deeper level, paying attention to scent is not a small detail. It is a profound way of reaching her emotional core. Fact 10. Jasmine and lavender, the quiet catalysts of attraction. Science itself supports the power of fragrance. Research from the Smell and Taste Treatment and Research Foundation in Chicago has highlighted two scents that consistently heighten attraction and sensuality in women: jasmine and lavender. These are not random discoveries, but insights supported by both history and modern studies. Jasmine has long been associated with rituals of love and desire, with compounds that reduce anxiety, uplift mood, and invite openness. Lavender, on the other hand, is renowned for relaxation, but also shown to increase blood flow and awaken responsiveness. Together, they create a powerful backdrop for intimacy. Incorporating these scents into daily life can be simple yet transformative. Imagine a quiet massage with essential oils, where the fragrance not only soothes the muscles, but simultaneously sparks the senses. Picture a dinner surrounded by softly glowing candles infused with lavender, or a personal fragrance with notes of jasmine that lingers in memory long after the night ends. These small but intentional touches can create a warm and sensual atmosphere that elevates connection. The beauty lies in subtlety. The scent should never overwhelm, but rather whisper gently, wrapping itself around her experience until it becomes inseparable from the moment shared. Fact 11. Emotional connection is the secret doorway. Here's a truth that rises above all others. For mature women, the real key to passion is emotional connection. The more deeply they feel understood, valued, and safe, the more freely their desire flows. This isn't about elaborate gestures or grand declarations. It's about presence, sincerity, and the ability to truly listen. To touch her heart is to awaken her entire being, and when that emotional intimacy exists, physical intimacy blossoms with a depth that is unmatched. Think of those small but profound moments when laughter, a gaze, or a single conversation shifts the atmosphere between two people. Mature women know that desire thrives in these spaces. When she feels free to be herself, safe from judgment and embraced as she is, her passion intensifies naturally. Experts like Esther Perel remind us that desire lives in the balance between closeness and freedom, between connection and individuality. For mature women, when that balance is honored, their wildest, most authentic side awakens. Fact 12. Her body language speaks volumes. Words are only part of the conversation. Mature women often express their desires through subtle gestures that can be overlooked if one is not attentive. A change in posture, a softened gaze, a hand resting closer than usual. These signals are her body's way of communicating feelings she may not articulate outright. Even the rhythm of her breathing can shift when attraction builds. The ability to notice and respond to these cues is like learning a new language, one that allows you to anticipate her desires and align more deeply with her emotions. Too often, people focus exclusively on what is spoken, forgetting that bodies rarely lie. For mature women who may choose subtlety over direct words, body language becomes a treasure map leading to intimacy. If you pay close attention, you'll find that her body tells the story long before her lips do. Recognizing this and responding with sensitivity makes the experience not only richer, but far more attuned to her rhythm. Fact 13. Independence is her lifeline, not a barrier. One of the most important qualities that mature women hold dear is independence. Over years of building careers, raising families, pursuing passions, or navigating personal challenges, they have forged an identity that is entirely their own. By the time they reach a later stage in life, this independence is not just something they value. It is something they fiercely protect. It doesn't mean they don't want companionship or intimacy. Rather, it means they want a partner who respects their autonomy and appreciates that self-reliance. What turns them away most quickly is a relationship where they feel smothered, constantly monitored or burdened with another person's emotional dependence. Instead, what draws them in is the presence of someone who has his own interests, his own pursuits, and his own spark for life. I once heard a story from a friend who shared how she ended a promising relationship, not because the man was unkind or inattentive, but because he clung to her every hour of the day. What might have been interpreted as sweetness in younger years became suffocating in maturity. For her, the greatest attraction was a partner who could stand beside her, not lean entirely upon her. Independence in this context is magnetic. It signals strength, confidence, and the ability to walk together without losing individuality. Mature women desire space to breathe, and paradoxically, when given that space, they often return with even greater affection, excitement, and desire. Balance is everything, and learning when to step forward and when to step back can keep the flame burning strong. Fact 14. Playful teasing is her hidden language of attraction. Flirtation changes its form over time. In youth, it may appear as bold declarations, obvious advances, or dramatic gestures. In maturity, however, it often becomes more subtle, woven into humor, wit, and playful teasing. A remark said with a smile, a gentle challenge wrapped in laughter, or a light-hearted critique can all be signals of attraction. For a mature woman, teasing is not meant to wound. It's an invitation to play, a signal that she feels comfortable enough to lower her guard and test your ability to join in the game. The way you respond to this dynamic matters enormously. If you react defensively or take her words too seriously, the playful spark may fade. But if you lean into the humor, answer her teasing with confidence and charm, and show her that you understand the balance between seriousness and fun, then you are stepping into her rhythm. These exchanges often serve as a form of foreplay, warming the connection and preparing the ground for intimacy. It's a reminder that passion does not always begin in the body. Sometimes it starts with laughter across a table, a glance that lingers, or a quick comeback that makes her eyes light up. Fact 15. Her circle of friends is part of her intimate world. Another often overlooked aspect of mature women's lives is the bond they share with their close friends. These friendships are not shallow or fleeting. They are built upon decades of trust, shared experiences, and mutual support. And within these circles, conversations go deeper than many might expect. Mature women openly discuss not only their lives, families, and careers, but also their relationships, their desires, and yes, even their intimate experiences. While some men may feel uneasy at the thought of their private moments being discussed among friends, the reality is that this sharing is rarely about gossip. It's about understanding, seeking advice, and affirming one another's journeys. When her friends know about you and still support the relationship, it is often a positive sign. It means she feels proud to share your presence in her life. Rather than resisting this aspect, wise partners see it as an opportunity. Listening closely to casual remarks she makes, considering the subtle advice she might bring back from those conversations, and recognizing that her support network is an extension of her strength, can make you more attuned to her needs. Winning the respect of her friends is not about pleasing them. It's about showing consistency, kindness, and authenticity. When her friends approve, the relationship often flows more smoothly because she feels validated in her choice. Fact 16. Not every date carries true intention. It must be acknowledged that while many mature women are deeply intentional in their connections, there are still situations where someone may engage in dating without genuine interest in a deeper relationship. Occasionally, this may look like joining a partner for fine dinners or outings without the intention of building long-term intimacy. While such scenarios are far less common among mature women than among younger daters, it still happens, and awareness matters. The key lies in reciprocity. If you notice that you are always the one planning, always the one investing effort, and the relationship seems to remain on the surface without moving toward deeper connection, it may be time to pause and reflect. A woman who is genuinely interested will not only accept what you offer, but will also contribute through conversation, through shared plans, through emotional availability. To test this balance, try suggesting simpler, more personal activities that remove the emphasis on external luxuries. A walk in the park, cooking together at home, or sitting down for heartfelt conversation often reveals intentions far more clearly than lavish dinners ever could. Fact 17. Anger can be transformed into closeness. Every relationship encounters moments of frustration or conflict. What distinguishes a mature woman is not the absence of anger, but the way she wishes it to be met. Unlike in youth, where flowers or quick apologies might have sufficed, mature women value empathy, presence, and genuine listening. When upset, what they crave most is not avoidance or logic, but true understanding. If her feelings are acknowledged and validated, the tension can dissolve into closeness. And remarkably, that very moment of frustration can even transform into a new spark of desire. This process requires patience. Instead of rushing to fix the situation, lean in with calm presence. Let her speak fully, without interruption. And when the time feels right, bridge the gap not with grand gestures, but with sincere touch. A hug, a gentle caress, or a simple act of closeness that communicates that you are there not to argue, but to remain by her side. Often, this willingness to stay grounded in the face of tension leads to surprising intimacy. What began as conflict may end in connection, reminding both partners that love is not about avoiding storms, but about learning how to stand together through them. Fact 18. Attraction sometimes hides behind silence. It is important to recognize that not all desire is spoken aloud. A mature woman may feel strong attraction toward you and yet remain silent about it, waiting to see how you respond. The reasons vary. It may be pride, patience, or simply the choice to allow you the opportunity to take initiative. In these cases, subtlety is everything. You may notice lingering eye contact, a glance from across the room, or the way she plays with her hair or necklace when you speak. These are the quiet indicators of interest, and learning to read them with sensitivity is essential. Approaching these signals requires both confidence and gentleness. If you respond too aggressively, the attraction may retreat. But if you acknowledge them playfully, perhaps with a light remark or a knowing smile, you create a safe space for her to express herself more openly. Attraction at this stage is rarely about impulsive gestures. It is about building comfort and trust until the unspoken becomes undeniable. Fact 19. Intimacy begins in the imagination. Perhaps one of the most overlooked truths is that for mature women, intimacy starts long before physical contact. It begins in the mind. Imagination is the spark that lights the flame, and fantasies often become richer and more liberating with age. This is not about elaborate scripts, but about the small ways you can engage her mentally, a playful message during the day, a conversation about desires, or even recalling a shared memory in vivid detail. These mental cues prepare her mind, and once her imagination is alive, the body follows naturally, with deeper passion. A friend once explained to me that after 50, her fantasies grew more vivid precisely because she no longer felt held back by judgment. What mattered was not whether they were normal, but whether they were real for her. When partners invite this imaginative play, when they listen without dismissal, they tap into a source of connection that transforms ordinary moments into extraordinary ones. By stimulating her mind, you awaken her body in ways that routine physical gestures alone never could. Fact 20. Attraction is not always logical. Even with wisdom and experience, human attraction sometimes defies reason. Mature women, like anyone else, may find themselves drawn to partners who do not treat them as well as they deserve. This is not weakness. It is often the result of deeply ingrained emotional patterns, such as the cycle of intermittent reinforcement described by psychologists. In this cycle, inconsistent affection, moments of neglect followed by sudden attention, creates a powerful, addictive pull. Breaking free from such patterns requires patience, self-reflection, and sometimes support from trusted friends or professionals. If you ever find yourself observing a woman drawn into such a situation, the best response is empathy rather than judgment. Understanding that attraction can be irrational is the first step towards supporting her as she reclaims her worth and seeks relationships where respect and passion exist side by side. Fact 21. Desire often reawakens after 50. One of the most uplifting revelations many women experience after menopause is that their desire does not fade away. In fact, for many, it comes back stronger than ever. Free from the anxieties of youth and the unpredictability of hormonal cycles, they often discover a second wave of passion, a rediscovery of their own bodies, and a freedom to embrace intimacy without fear. What was once tied to insecurity or external expectation becomes pure enjoyment. Partners who approach this stage with curiosity rather than assumption often find themselves entering a completely new chapter of connection. Rather than treating maturity as decline, they treat it as renaissance. And in doing so, they uncover joy that feels like a second youth, but with the added strength of wisdom and experience. Fact 22. A partner's scent becomes his secret signature. Among the many senses that shape attraction, scent remains one of the most powerful. For mature women, the cologne or natural fragrance of a partner can be a direct pathway to memory, comfort, and desire. It is not about extravagance, but about choosing a scent that resonates, that feels authentic, and that becomes intertwined with your presence. Once she associates that fragrance with moments of closeness, it transforms into a personal signature, a reminder of passion every time it returns to her senses. The power of this cannot be overstated. A carefully chosen scent becomes not just a detail, but an emotional anchor. When she smells it, she recalls laughter, touch, connection, and intimacy. It is, quite literally, a fragrance of memory and desire. Fact 23, the greatest secret is emotional depth. At the end of all these discoveries lies one truth that ties everything together. For mature women, the most fulfilling intimacy arises from emotional connection. Studies show that women who feel understood, valued, and emotionally safe with their partners experience not only greater satisfaction, but also more frequent and intense orgasms. This is not coincidence. It is the way emotional safety allows the body to relax, to trust, and to surrender fully. To build this depth requires more than presence in the bedroom. It requires genuine curiosity about her thoughts, attentive listening to her words, and consistency in showing that her feelings matter. Small gestures such as eye contact during conversation, a sincere question about her day, or the willingness to sit quietly in her company create foundations of trust that magnify intimacy later. When a woman feels emotionally secure, her capacity for passion expands endlessly. And so, we return to where we began. Maturity does not diminish desire, it enriches it. Intimacy later in life is not merely possible, it can be more profound, more satisfying, and more liberating than at any earlier stage. With openness, respect, imagination, and a willingness to embrace change, couples can discover that the journey only grows deeper with time. Pleasure has no expiration date, and connection, when nurtured, only becomes stronger. As always, my name is Karen, and I hope this exploration has given you new insights into the remarkable world of mature women and the truths of their intimate lives. If this is your first time here, I invite you once again to subscribe and join this community, where we talk openly and respectfully about the things that truly matter. And if you've stayed with me until the end, I want to honor your commitment. So leave a comment with the phrase, "I love wisdom." That way, I'll know who is journeying alongside me with curiosity and courage. Remember to share this with someone who may need it today, because a single perspective can sometimes change a life. Until next time, may you embrace connection, honor growth, and never forget that intimacy is a lifelong adventure.